So if
is this a standard thing, or is this because of injunction?
Well, this is because of the gagging of the family court system.
So this is just without exception?
Without exception.
Okay, but then on top of that, there are these injunctions that you get served.
Well, I'm going to hold up a piece of paper for fun because it's blank on both sides, and that's because in here are injunctions which I'm not even allowed to show you.
Well, you're not allowed to show the screen, are you? You're not allowed to show me even.
I can't publish these.
No, okay.
But they are injunctions to me, preventing me telling the truth about what I know has happened to children. And in one case, and I'm sure good old Plymouth City Council will be delighted to hear me mention their name, Plymouth City Council got so excited that they gave an injunction before we even got near publishing anything. It was simply as a result of talking to the family concerned.
So they knew that, somehow they knew that you were talking to the family?
Well, this is where we've got a very interesting system coming up in our cities, where there is a professional political grapevine that makes it its business to know what people are doing. But the key point is, we have got, not just me, there's a gentleman been at this game for years called Jack Frost, produced a tremendous book, The Gulag of the Family Courts. Ian Joseph is another man who's been doing a lot of work, produced a book with facts and documents, etc. But when you come to say to people, right, we'd really like to show you what's going on, the secret courts gag us. So you can't present the evidence.
But you can talk about cases if you don't mention the names.
Indeed, and tonight what I'm going to try and do is get over for the viewers the circumstances of cases where I'm going to try and emphasise where you are seeing this template pattern. And all of the cases I'm talking about are real cases. I think you will be very surprised at some of the things I'm going to talk about. But if somebody is sitting in their armchair at home and said, well, Brian, this is all very well, where's the evidence? I say, I can't show you the evidence. I brought 2 files to be able to say to the viewers, evidence. I could have brought 100 files in. So the evidence is there. But I can't open these and show you on camera because of the gagging through the courts. Now, if everybody in the court was an honest, upstanding, moral person, maybe the system would work. But if you go and look on websites that have been tracking corruption amongst the judiciary, for instance, we will see that there are judges using rent boys, there are judges swindling, there are judges doing all sorts of things. So what happens... I
have to say that this is my guest's opinion.
It's all in the national press.
Okay.
It's all
if it's in the public domain.
If you go and put judges and press in Google, you will come up with story after story of improper behaviour by judges.
Okay.
Now, if one of those judges is the judge presiding over a family court case in a secret court where he or she has total control over that court, we have brought the families into a very dark, dangerous place, because that perverted judge can make decisions which the families have no way of challenging.
Is there no appeal?
Well, they can appeal, but the system is controlled.
Okay.
This is where...
Let me read you some text. I've got one from Sean in Bugbrook in Northants.
Yes. Yeah.
And he says, is it true that local authorities get money from central government if they have to take children into care?
Well, this is absolutely true. And at the talk I did at Alternative View 3 in Bristol, I put up statistics where some local authorities have been taking millions of pounds.
From government?
From government for putting children into adoptive or care arrangements. And that doesn't even take into account the amount of money that the barristers and solicitors are clawing in on both sides of the case. And if you go through the files and you look at the invoicing, you'll see law firms casually saying, well, we'll have another 20,000 on this case, which is all coming straight out of the public purse. They are taking public money as if it's sweeties.
Well, here's an interesting text from Vinny in Kent. He says, anything that binds us together, clans, tribes, families, is being destroyed, replaced by controlled bonds, music, sport, TV, etc., all negotiable. Do you feel that?
I think that gentleman's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Now, somebody else here called Media says, talking about you, he seems to put enough fear into people, go against the government, they will take your kids. He is doing the dirty work for the elite. And somebody else earlier said, once naval, always naval, and he doesn't trust you. So how would you get over that?
Well, those two, well, I can only say all of the talks that I've done, I've been completely open. These people are very welcome to speak to people I've dealt with and helped, and they can judge on that basis. But I smile to myself because those sorts of remarks are typical of the way society has been driven. We are now heading towards a sort of Stasi state. We've got 20,000 public sector snoopers. We've got local councils listening into telephone calls now. They have that ability to do that. Devon and Cornwall Police in 2008 had intercepted 53,000 calls and emails. So we are moving towards a Stasi state where people become suspicious of each other. And I have stood up to try and get the truth out, and somebody will email in to say, oh, don't trust this man because of what he's doing. This is the twist that these people are putting on society. I don't earn out of what I'm doing. On the contrary, money comes out of my personal pocket. I spend hours travelling to give talks. I take ridicule and abuse from some people. I still do it because I say I am trying to get the truth out and help people who haven't got anybody to speak for them. So I can take those comments because I know that overwhelmingly I get support from the public.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit more then about the way that these courts work, shall we?
Yeah.
So should we talk about an example without naming any names?
Well, I think one case, if I give a little background, I've had to make some notes here because there's quite a lot of different subjects. But one of the first cases that I came across was to do with a family in Wales. And the story was quite a common one, that basically the girl, so I can only call her a girl, went into hospital.
How old was this girl?
At the time she was about 12.
Okay.
And she was suffering pain, a lot of pain. And in hospital, it was clear pretty quickly that she wasn't being treated or diagnosed or treated properly. And so the mother was faced with a situation where the daughter's in pain, and she's then given very vague diagnosis. She's prescribed a lot of pills. Mother gets worried, the pain continues, the daughter is then moved on to another hospital, and in the next hospital the same sort of vague diagnosis and treatment occurs. In fact, there isn't any diagnosis.
They don't know what's the matter with her.
They don't know what's the matter with her. Now, in the documentary evidence that I hold, I can show you discharge notes from 4 different hospitals in which the diagnosis box is completely empty, but a drug is prescribed. So there's no diagnosis, but there is a drug prescribed. And in one of those sheets, and maybe on 2 of them, there's not even any name and address.
Now, how do you know they're her sheets then?
Because we can link it in via the numbers and in with the other documentation from the hospital in that case. There was a prescription of oral morphine, which was so massive, if the mother had actually given it to her daughter, the daughter would have died. And a pharmacist in one of the hospitals was absolutely shocked to see. Now, what did the mother do? The mother started to protest and to complain to the Health Trust. And what then happened was a doctor, and you can see it by his own letters, manoeuvred into engaging social services. And they then worked to say that the little girl was making the pain up and that the mother was suffering from Munchausen by proxy.
Munchausen syndrome by proxy is where people fake diseases in their children or other people rather than themselves, which is Munchausen.
So you gain sort of recognition out of the suffering of somebody with you. It's been discredited in a lot of cases now, but the sequence of letters and documents show that.